The Trojans were back at spring practice, and it was raining, and it was miserable.
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Holkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC your first listen every day. Whether you're watching on YouTube or wherever you'd like to download your podcast, we are free. I appreciate your support, and you can appreciate me a little bit. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't become a subscriber already, do me a favor. It's really easy. Click that subscribe button. If you like the episode, hit the thumbs up, and then don't forget to hit that bell notification so you don't miss any one of our 5 episodes, because we come at you 5 times a week, 30 minutes or less. And this episode of Locked On USC is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/Locked On today to get started. So on yesterday's episode, I said, hopefully it won't be raining in the afternoon. Practice is scheduled for 3:35 roughly. Sports Information Director Katie Ryan sent out a text message earlier in the day. I'll keep you guys updated. Could be 3:45 to 4:15. I'll let you know. Anyways, as I mentioned at the top of the show, it was raining and it wasn't pleasant. It was miserable. They were in full pads. Yeah, again, right after spring break, they come back officially day 4 of camp. I would have anticipated they would have come out in shorts and shells, right after the break to kind of get back into that acclimation period. Nope, full pads. And they even had the Pac-12 officials out there helping with practice. If you get a chance to watch a Pac-12 game this year on TV, if you're capable of watching a Pac-12 game, I kid. Look for one of the officials. I swear to you, he is Hines Ward's doppelganger. Remember the old Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver? Identical twin. Anyways. Again, rain, cold, windy. I'm thinking, you know what? There's nothing wrong with giving these guys just one more extra day, considering, the weather. Again, cold, wet, miserable. And that wasn't the way I wanted to spend my afternoon watching USC spring football, considering what I dealt with in the morning. I didn't even get to pro day. Southwest Airlines. Yeah, if you're watching, you saw I gave the one finger salute. So, just so anybody doesn't think I was being hyperbolic regarding the conditions for practice on Tuesday. Following Tuesday's practice, we had a chance to speak with Brendan Rice, wide receiver, and he used the exact same word that the condition regarding conditions, but he said his with a playful smile. And Brendan's actually a really fun guy to talk with. I'll have more from him in the next segment on this episode. We spoke with him after practice, as well as Miller Moss, Mason Murphy, Marshawn Lloyd met with the media for the first time, Dorian Singer, as well as a few other players. So lots of interviews, and because I'm not going to be able to get to all of it on this episode, you can always head on over to wearesc.com when you're done making Locked On USC your first listen. We still have that subscription special going. Take advantage of it. And then besides the players, we also spoke with Lincoln Riley and Alex Grinch following practice. This was the first time Grinch spoke with the media since the Cotton Bowl. And it was funny. I don't know, coaches have a way about themselves, but on his way to practice, it was almost like he was trying to soften the media up. When he was coming up the ramp, heading over to Loker Stadium, he called the rain liquid sunshine. Gonna have a good day of practice. Following practice, this is what defensive coordinator Alex Grinch had to say. It was very introspective. So I'm going to read a few quotes. We start with the negative. That's the appropriate thing to do. You first look at it through the lens of a coaching staff standpoint. What can we do to affect the behavior of our guys? Can we put them in a better situation to be successful? It takes a lot of discipline and it takes a lot of maturity in that as a coaching staff to go through it, because you're rehashing the most frustrating plays of the season, he continued. And it's fresh. We're in there the day after the game, but you look at it through that lens. And then we say, okay, what can we do? What you have to do in those moments, you have to have an honest evaluation. His next quote was actually my favorite. Then you look at it through the lens of what we call testimony, or the drills that we're doing. Does it show up on film? And if it doesn't, we need to change the drill, change the coaching point, and at some point possibly change the person. But that's the final step. What we want to do is change the player, as opposed to look at it through the lens of just simply changing the person or fire guys. No, let's just change players, get them bigger, faster, stronger, and put them in the best situation as possible. From a coaching standpoint, what you do is you expect the bullets to be aimed at you. You take those bullets as aimed in the right place, and then you take ownership for it, and that's what we've done. And he's speaking for himself and the coaches. So there's a lot there to kind of unpack, including, I think he dropped a not so subtle hint that he needs to do a better job, because he used the term fire. You don't fire players. You replace players. You bench them. You don't fire players. Now, due to the elements that everybody was dealing with, I'm not just talking about the media, I'm talking about the team. Because of the rain, they want to keep Howard Jones Field in as good a condition as possible. So the team split their time between Loker Stadium and Howard Jones. And what's funny is when everybody's coming out for practice, nobody seems to know where they're supposed to go. Fortunately, there is one person. It's a security guard who's like, no, you guys go there, you go over there. The players, the coaches, they're like, where do I go? And they're looking to a security guard. It's kind of funny. Now, following practice, when the media got to speak with Lincoln Riley, because of the weather, and he was obviously joking about it. He said that he was going to have a talk with Mike Bohn and Carol Folt, because they told him pretty much unequivocally that the weather was really nice in Southern California. But Lincoln also he was using the situation to their advantage, because he said, you know what, we want to use this environment to have the guys prepared for this type of stuff, and we had planned to use wet balls at some point during spring camp anyways. So that's how you take lemons and you turn them into lemonade. My own personal anecdote, and there are plenty of you out there who are watching or listening who might remember this game. USC played up in Berkeley in 2007 against Cal, and that's what Tuesday's practice felt like. You were just soaked to the bone. It went through your pants, your shirt, your jacket, your shoes. And I'm thinking to myself, they could have at least put up a pop-up tent for us. But yeah, that's what I felt like after practice. It got to a point where I went and I found my own overhead covering. I wasn't going to stand out there and deal with it. It just wasn't necessary. One person who I noticed, I'm going to go over some other real quick observations here. Jamar Sakona, defensive lineman, looks much trimmer. Lost some of that bad weight, and he just more sculpted, I guess is the best way to put it. And he got a new haircut. It's all gone. I spotted Jacoby Covington and Big Daddy Justin Dietich walking to practice together. Jacoby's really tall, and he's gotten much bigger up, in the chest and the upper torso. And what was cool is he gave Justin one of those attaboy taps on the butt as they were passing the Trojan sword. The first thing that just popped in my head was Jacoby looks like an NFL player right now. A couple other future Trojans, hopefully. Devin Tompkins and Anthony Lucas, they were walking buddies heading up to practice. After practice, Lincoln was all about Lucas, telling us that he's really glad he's on his team. And P.S., this one's from me. There's not much of a size difference between Devin Tompkins and Anthony Lucas. So if Lincoln is that high on Anthony, and he's mentioned Devin earlier, not in the spring, but when we talked, he mentioned him back in January when we talked with Lincoln. So keep an eye on those two. They're hanging out together. Caleb Williams, on his way to practice, was giving Austin Jones the business. He kept telling Jones, "You lost. You already lost twice. You know it. You know it." I don't know what they were talking about or what context, but Austin wasn't having any of it. He was just like, "Talk to the hand." And then Gavin Morris, he was looks like he's taking Sam Greene, freshman defensive lineman, rush end under his arm and told him, "Hey, this is your time. Don't be nervous." He was expecting him to get after it during practice today. So in the next segment, I'm going to focus on the offense and some of what I saw. And then in the third segment, I'm going to discuss some of the drills, each of the different position groups that I was able to see, what they were going through. But first, we're going to talk about March Madness. It's tourney time. So I need you to head on over to FanDuel, because right now it's as I said, tournament time. It's heating up. And now is the perfect time for you to download FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because new customers, you're going to get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. So just download the FanDuel Sportsbook. It's safe, it's secure, it's a super easy app to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to the point scorers, who made the most three-pointers. I would love to talk about my favorite NBA team, the Lakers, but as you know, I'm boycotting that team right now until one particular player is no longer on the roster. However, at FanDuel, you will be able to combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. So don't miss the chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/locked-on. That's FanDuel.com/locked-on to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, let's get right back into my notes and observations from Tuesday's practice, day 4. I told you in a previous episode of Locked On USC, before they went to spring break, I was going to focus on the offense a little bit more first time back, because I spent the first time we were at practice on the defense. So here you go. I saw the OLine group. They were off in the distance again, but this time I had a little bit better view. And Coach Henson, he had the group doing a lot of drive blocking drills. Really, it seemed like the physicality was what they were, at least what we got to see, that portion of the practice. Offensive line, and I don't really think it means a whole lot during spring camp, because, they're doing a lot of rotating, a lot of cross training, at least some of the players. I'll get to that here in just a moment. But I did see, first string Cortland Ford, left tackle, Jarrett Kingston, left guard, Justin Dietich at center, and I believe it was, I want to say it was Jonah Monheim at right guard, and then Tarquin at right tackle. Those two might have been switched inside and outside. Don't quote me on it. Nevertheless, I had a sense of which the top 7 or 8 offensive linemen were that were going to be in your rotation. Real quick shout out to Andrew Malek. I love any player that's going to come over and say, "Hey, Mark, nice to see you. Thanks for coming." You get the props. So if Pops is watching, you raised a good kid. I mentioned the offensive line. Mason Murphy. He told me after practice that he's working solely at right tackle. He's not doing any cross training. So that's an interesting observation, interesting note for you, the fans, to take away. We thought we might have a log jam. What's going on at left tackle? Is it, going to be Cortland Ford? Is it going to be Mason Murphy? Is it going to be one of the new transfers? We'll see how this works out. If Mason's staying at right tackle and Tarquin seems to be also a right tackle, we'll see how this works out. Lincoln Riley made a couple of comments when he was talking with the media after practice that he's anticipating more players, more roster movement after spring camp. He wasn't specific, but there's still 2 open scholarships, number 1. So there's going to be more players added. But he did kind of mention there's going to be more roster movement. So just stay tuned. Something else that Mason said that I thought was really candid, and I think this is another step in his maturation process. He said he's working on getting better mentally with his preparation with everything. I'm not just talking about, playbook. He's talking everything from waking up, doing the right thing, as well as he wants to improve his pass protection. So, these guys, they know where their weaknesses are. The coaches tell them. Some of them, they listen and read the media or get some feedback from their family, who does. So it's great when the players are able to talk very openly and honestly of what they need to work on and not try and, just give that typical coach speak or player speak type of stuff. Caleb Williams and Miller Moss, man, it was really fun to watch them throw in the rain. They were dropping dimes, just beautiful, deep sideline fade patterns, and the ball was just dropping in perfectly from both guys. And what was really cool is the wide receivers, they were catching pretty much everything, even with the weather. And Lincoln Riley, he got involved with the quarterbacks. He was doing some, I'll call them love taps. He was trying to disrupt the quarterback timing. So when the quarterback, the ball snapped and they dropped back 2-3 steps, Lincoln would take one of the, I guess we call it a crash pad, blocking pads, and he would, try and tap the quarterback's hand that's had the ball in his hand, trying to disrupt the timing. But also, hey, you better have a firm grip on the ball, especially in the weather. And then, like I said, I had a pretty good view of the guys who were catching the ball. Dorian Singer, Zachariah Branch, Mario Williams, Rayleigh Brown, Kyron Hudson, Brendan Rice. They all, even the running backs, everybody got into the act, and they all were looking pretty good out there. It was funny. After practice, Rayleigh Brown was running in the rain, and he was screaming, "It's snowing! It's snowing!" This is the perfect. I wish fans could come out to practice because you could really understand. I like to refer to them as young men, and they are. Let's be real about this, but they're still kids at heart, and it's fun to watch these guys act like kids. Makes you want to act like a kid. Makes me want to act like a kid. I have a hard enough time staying as adult as I do. So I really do enjoy hanging out around the team. It keeps me feeling young and energetic. So, as I mentioned, I want to get a real quick note on Zachariah Branch. And this was from, I'm trying to remember which player said it in the interviews. I think it was Brendan Rice. Might have been Brendan Rice. Apparently Zachariah Branch had a pretty nice play and had the entire defense chasing after him. And I think Brendan said the offense was lit after that. So whatever that means. I know what it means, but take it for what it's worth. Zachariah Branch. I know everybody's looking forward to seeing him play. So am I. I mentioned Miller Moss. He understands he's playing behind the Heisman winner. That's his competition. That's his main competition. Malachi Nelson is also battling. So Miller understands he's going to have to be patient, but his confidence level right now is probably as big as he is. He spent a lot of time in the weight room during the offseason, and that weight room and Miller became BFFs. You can see a noticeable difference. He is a big, strong dude. But Lincoln Riley also talked after practice that he said he knows that Miller needs more game reps. And he said that he actually said he took the majority of the repetitions leading up to the Cotton Bowl, which was interesting since he didn't get in the game. So Riley said that, his confidence level with Miller has taken another tremendous growth, another leap through the roof. I have a feeling they're going to try and get Miller into a game or 2 or 3 this year. That's got to be the goal. Caleb's competition right now is being that number 1 NFL draft pick. That's Miller's. That was the way Miller described it. So that's how they look at the competition. That's a great outlook. I love the way Miller approaches the game. Really rooting for that guy. After practice, I had asked Brendan Rice about the difference between this spring and last year. And the first thing he said was the energy level. And then he continued, he said, last year, we didn't really know the plays, and we were trying to impress the coaches. I thought that was an interesting choice of words. But he continued, he said, now we understand the offense, and we can go out and compete. I love the way he described that. We were trying to impress the coaches. Maybe we were trying too hard, trying to do too much. So, if people are wondering, well, why is this guy dropping balls they should be catching? Maybe that's why. I also was able to see Brendan standing. He was standing on one of the scales waiting to be interviewed. Well, the players have to wait until the coaches are done before they assemble. So Brendan was standing on the scale, and I kind of peeked over, and it was hovering around 206 pounds. So I asked him, I said, what's your ideal playing weight? He says, I want to be 210. I said, well, right now you're like 206. He said, no, I lost weight at practice. I'm 210. Brendan is a really fun guy to talk to. So if you get a chance to check out any video interviews or catch him on camera, take advantage of it. Fun guy. You can see I don't remember his dad having this type of effervescent personality. Maybe towards the end of his career, but Brendan is definitely he's camera friendly. Let's just leave it there. So there you go. That was some of the stuff on offense. In the next segment, I'm going to talk a little bit what I saw some of the on the defensive side of the ball, what they were doing with their position drills when they broke down into their groups. So let's not wait any longer, and let's just get into that. All right. The team was in full pads. It was raining. And I'm thinking, all right, well, maybe they're going to do some more tackling. Well, they weren't doing any full tackling to the ground, and that's probably because they, trying to, at least in front of us, in front of the media. And I didn't see anybody too muddy coming off the practice field, so they probably kept that limited as well. And trying to limit any injury opportunities. It was probably prudent on their part. With that said, what we got to see, the media, I'll start with the defensive backs. So while they weren't tackling to the ground, like I explained the last time we were at practice, they were still working on certain techniques, wrapping up, working on the form, and then, again, taking advantage of the element. They were trying to strip the ball. So, wrap them up, and once you've got them wrapped up, punch at the ball, try and knock it out, strip it out, whatever it takes, create a turnover. The linebackers, these guys are right in front of me this time. Got a really good view of Taka Curtis. Number 25 is big. They were doing Brian Odom. They were teaching some new how to shed the blocker. And this one particular drill, it was a one-hand drill. So whatever linebacker, whether it be Shane Lee, Rajon Davis, Tackett Curtis, whomever, Jameel Muhammad, they would grab the guy with one hand and kind of direct them, and then when they want to get to where they were going, rip them through. So it was just a one-hand grip and rip. And it was, you have to show strength and leverage and timing on it, because when you have to feel when the guy is leaning to have the opportunity to rip that guy by you. And then as far as with the rushing, this is great. So I mentioned Sam Greene when he was walking up with Gavin Morris. Coach Roy Manning, rush ends coach. He was in full teacher mode during the time we were able to watch. And I guess they were working on how to attack the mesh point on the read option. And on one repetition, Sam Greene was a little bit too aggressive. And so this is where coach said, all right, you got to be able to break down at the right time. And this is how you do it. You use your body to kind of force the action. So you're reading the play, you're forcing it with your body, going in that direction, but you're using your eyes to react. So you break down, you stop at the mesh point. You don't want to over pursue. In other words, once you have your body in the right position, let your eyes react and follow the play and go from there. It's hard to describe. I'm doing my best, but it was just teacher player 101, taking the freshman and saying, all right, this is how we're going to get you to the next step. And on that next rep, coach was really excited because Sam, he read the play, he didn't over pursue, and he was able to force the action and then react quickly. That's what you want to see. You just want to see development. And then as far as the defensive linemen, what they were doing, loved it. They were working on stepping through the bags, like they were making the progression, working down the defensive line. And then they would, all of a sudden take off and there's the quarterback or there's the ball carrier, grab the tackling dummy, lift it off the ground and show how strong they were, with the grunt, whatever. So lots of good stuff during the rain. Wish we could see more, but hey, I'm going to give you what we get, and I can only give you so much in 30 minutes or less, and we're already at the end of the show. I mean, there you are, and I can continue to go on more. So, Locked on USC comes at you 5 times a week. I'll have more for you on our next episode, which will come at you again on Thursday if you're watching this on Wednesday. So, until then, everyone, you know what to do.